Hmm? Hmm? Well now, welcome back to the channel everybody. I'm your host, Cryptid Master KD, coming at you from the lair of the Cryptid Master KD YouTube channel. In today's episode, we will be going over two accounts of one of the most terrifying cryptids in America. One so feared that its name is spoken in whispers. But before we get into that, please, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It lets you know every time I post a video. And if you really enjoy my content, please comment down below. If you enjoy my channel, please share and all that. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into this video. This video was inspired by an event that happened just a couple days ago, the Strawberry Moon, first spoken about by the Algonquin people of Canada, where it was a time for harvesting strawberries every time that moon rose. Another thing they are known for is today's cryptid. Among the traditions of the northern Algonquin-speaking Algonquin tribes, also known as the Algonquin-speaking people tribes, because they're comprised of several different tribes. That includes the Cree, the Ojibwe, and other tribes native to Canada. They have a rich culture of folklore and stories, which settlers were quick to dismiss. And among the traditions of their culture is the wendigo. That's right. Today we're doing the wendigo. Now, what is a wendigo in general? Well, let me tell you. A wendigo is a malevolent spirit, literally brought into our reality through what we call the ultimate act of evil, cannibalism. It's a monster that can seize hold of a person to carry out its hunger for human flesh. The wendigo, they usually start out as a human who has become depraved and cannibalistic. And those cannibalistic tendencies make it turn into this monster. Eventually, they become emaciated, so gaunt, so skeletal, that they're almost comprised of a zombie-looking thing. So hungry, it's bitten off chunks of its own flesh. Because the wendigo is insatiable. It wants flesh, it wants blood, it's never satisfied with the amount it can eat. It's also said that the wendigo has the power to possess people, to carry out this hunger. And once the wendigo takes hold, you are a starving, savage beast with an insatiable hunger. And right here we have an illustration of the wendigo. This here is what you become if you commit cannibalism. But it also has the power to possess people in their minds. The wendigo forces itself, goes somehow inside their bodies. None of that is inappropriate. Non-sexual stuff here. but it goes inside their body and takes hold of them. They become predators with an out of control hunger. Their families and loved ones are usually the ones who become the prey. That is what a wendigo is, and what it represents is both cannibalism and greed. It's also metaphorical for it also is represented in the world of science with a condition called wendigo psychosis. Wendigo psychosis is a very severe form of cabin fever. Typically, what happens in a wendigo psychosis is what happens is a person will be isolated. This is usually what happens in the stories of wendigo encounters and possessions. Is a person is isolated for long periods of time, and they may have plenty of provisions and food to eat. What happens in this syndrome is they begin to develop the belief that they're going to turn into a monster and start cannibalizing on the people around them. So it becomes a very dangerous delusion, just like clinical lycanthropy. It can be a very dangerous syndrome. Now that we got that all the way about what a wendigo is and what it represents, let's get into our stories. The first story I will tell you is about a man named Swift Runner. He was one of the most famous accounts of wendigo possession, which took place in the 1870s when a Cree Indian named Swift Runner showed up in town, claiming his wife and children were missing. Police suspected foul play until they found out there was more to this story. This is an illustration of Swift Runner. Swift Runner, a Cree Indian of the time, was a trapper and a guide. His story is tragic. So if you guys are not into gore and all that, please leave the video now because it's about to get gruesome. Too late. Now, Swift Runner had left town the previous winter before the great tragedy that befell him. Swift Runner was a trapper and a guide. He had left town the previous autumn with his wife, 2 children, and his mother. But when Swift Runner returned in the spring, he was alone. Swift Runner came into town telling this heartbreaking tale to the authorities that he had to watch his family starve to death during winter. Now, it wasn't uncommon, and it was not that ununderstandable to have his family die of starvation during the hard winter times. But something was very suspicious about Swift Runner. When he came into town and claimed that his wife and children had starved to death during winter, when he came in town telling this heartbreaking tale about his wife and children starving to death during winter, something was suspicious about Swift Runner. When he came in town, he was a strapping man. He weighed over 200 pounds. He didn't look malnourished or you know, he was fat and he looked healthier than ever. He didn't look malnourished or that he had starved through the winter. He looked completely healthy, healthier than ever. However, after a few nights, it became clear that something was wrong. When he was staying at an inn in town, he be, it was he started to have these nightmares, screaming in his sleep, "I am the Wendigo." The locals alerted the authorities. After being questioned, Swift Runner actually guided the authorities who expected foul play. He actually guided them back to his winter cabin, and when they got there, a horrible, gruesome sight befell them. And what they saw was this. Human skeletons were scattered all over the place. There was a pot with boiling human fat and skulls inside. The the many bones were scattered about. They had never seen anything like this before. Some of the bones had been snapped open and the marrow drained. They had never seen something this gruesome. Swift Runner had killed his entire family, shooting them, strangling them, hitting them over with an axe, strangling, and then eating most of their bodies parts. Swift Runner was arrested and taken to Fort Saskatchewan, where he was tried for murder and hung for his crime. And right up until the point where the noose was on his neck, Swift Runner believed that the evil spirit of the Wendigo had possessed him and twisted him into a cannibal killer. When Swift Runner was on the gallows, he said just before his death, "I am no longer a man." What happened to Swift Runner's body was unknown, for it disappeared shortly after he was hung. According to some claims, it said that that his people, the Cree, took his body and burned it so that he could not resurrect or terrorize the living again. For you see, one thing that you all need to understand is that the Wendigo may be big and scary, but it has its weaknesses, and that's fire, because their hearts are made of ice, so they hate fire. And that's pretty much how you kill a Wendigo is with fire, and you have to destroy their heart. You have to destroy the heart. You have, you get it. Destroy the heart, the source of life. Now, our second story took place in July 30th, 2008, when it said that a Wendigo came to life on a double-decker bus. In 2008, a young man got onto a bus for a long drive and settled himself for a long trip home. Little did he know, people, it would be the last ride of his life. Now, this is going to get really gruesome real fast, so prepare yourselves. The young man had seated himself at the back of the bus, and shortly after, another man named Vincent Lee sat himself right next on the seat next to across from the man in there. Anyway, the bus drove on for another hour, and then the unthinkable happened. Something monstrous had taken hold of Lee, and it was unleashed on the sleeping man next to him. According to the account, Vincent Lee took out a huge knife and started attacking the man next to him who was sleeping. It said that this man tried his best to fight off Mr. Lee, but it was but in the end he was killed. The bus came to a stop, and then everybody got off the bus, and then the inconceivable happened. He severed his head from his Lee severed the man's head from his body. And started walking up and down the aisle of the bus, brandishing this head like a trophy. And and then the signs appeared. It said that he was taking chunks of the head off and eating them. It bore the signs of Wendigo, a monster in its most gruesome form. The police made an arrest, and when they questioned him, he said that God told him to do it. Many people believed at that point that he was the wendigo, a monster in its most gruesome form. But what do you all think? Was Vincent Lee utterly insane? Or was there an evil force at work? Let us know in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. So if you live near the Canadian border, just be careful out there. That's all I can say to you. Be careful, and I'm going to wrap this up. You guys have a good day. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and if you have, leave a like and comment down below what you think. We're going to wrap this up. Anyway, happy 4th of July to all of you. I'll see you in my next video, and have a good day. Peace out.